Alright, so this little video is to help you understand what determinants are. Determinants essentially either make a behavior or an outcome more likely or less likely. We're going to specifically look at risk and protective factors. Risk factors are going to be something that is going to increase the likelihood that the unhealthy behavior or outcome will be the one that happens or the one that is chosen. The opposite of that then would be a protective factor, and a protective factor is going to make it less likely that that negative thing or that unhealthy thing either is chosen or happens. All right, so I've created a document that for each of your topics, I've already found all the a ton of risk and protective factors that have already been validated by science. So scientists have been out there, they've done the research and the experiments, the studies to figure these things out. And so your task is going to be figure out which ones do you want to really look at for your topic that relate to your driving question. So your task to choose determinants that you believe you can impact through creating a program or making a policy recommendation. If you remember back to the violence prevention, the school violence sort of fake presentation that I showed in class, I chose determinants like poor grades, the mentoring program, that was a protective factor, because I felt like those were determinants that I could come up with an idea, a program idea or a policy recommendation for our administration or for the school district that could have an impact. It could either positively increase the protective factors or it could decrease or reduce the amount of risk factors or the amount of students that would be experiencing the risk factors. Okay, so for example, rank the following in order of how much of an impact you think you can make on each of these. So risk factors for school violence, 4 of them are poor grades, low IQ, poor communication skills, and poor parental supervision. Out of those, what would you say is one that you could have the biggest impact on? And which one would be the one that you could have the littlest impact on? All right, let you think about that for a second. When you do this for your topic, you're going to want to obviously pick the ones that you feel like you can have the biggest impact on. All right, so let's see how you did. In my opinion, you can make arguments for these, but essentially the poor grades and the poor communication skills are probably the two that you can have the biggest impact on, while poor parental supervision and low IQ you probably can have the lowest impact on. Now, you could have an impact on that. You could make up some sort of program to try to inform parents and tell them that they need to increase their supervision of their children and the reasons why, and try to motivate them to do so. And we know through Carol Dweck's mindset, you can actually increase your IQ as well. So both of those things are definitely things that you could have an impact on and change, but the easiest ones to choose that you might have the biggest impact on would be the poor grades and the poor communication skills. How could you do that? Well, you could start a tutoring program to reduce the amount of poor grades, right? And you could require communication skills to be taught in certain classes that kids are already required to take, or you could create a class or require kids to take a class that already does teach about communication. All right, so like I said, all of those could be done, but there are certainly a couple that sort of rise to the top that it would be the easiest to have an impact on. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at the determinants document, and it's in Colab, and I'll post it on Classroom, and find your specific topic, tobacco, alcohol, etc., and take a look at the list that I've generated for you, that I've gone and searched scholarly articles and done the research to find for you, and talk through those with your group and figure out what are the ones that you could have the biggest impact on by creating some sort of program, like a tutoring program, or some sort of maybe school-related program, or a policy recommendation to the principals, to the school board, etc., that you think would have the biggest impact. All right, and start brainstorming how. All right, well, we feel like this particular determinant we could have a big impact on. Well, then your next step then is to brainstorm ideas of how. How could we have an impact? What sort of program would we need to create? Or what sort of policy recommendation would we make to have that impact on that particular risk or protective factor, that determinant? Thanks.